Well, hello, Jake, KZRQ here, coming to you from not a park on the air, but from my patio at my house. Welcome to my home. It is the 1st of August, 2026. It is a gorgeous day here in Fargo, high in the mid 80s. It's sunny, a little bit of a breeze, but not too bad. I've got my Traeger going right behind you with a couple steaks on the grill. And we've got a nice cold beverage, Laney Summer Shandy. I hadn't had this in forever, so it sounded really good today. So, we're recapping 31 Days of POTA. So for those who haven't been following along with the shorts I've been posting, 31 Days of POTA was my challenge in July that I challenged myself to do a Parks on the Air activation every single day in the month of July. Now, the rules of the challenge were, I defined a day as a UTC day. I went by UTC day. I did that for a couple of reasons, one of which the POTA website goes off of UTC time, so that would make it easier as far as logs are concerned. But the other part of it was, if I did actual calendar day, there was just no way this was happening. UTC day, I could fudge that by piggybacking a couple of activations back-to-back over midnight UTC, since the midnight UTC, at least in Central Daylight Time, is 7 p.m., so I made it really easy to go do an activation right after work, get it knocked out, get to the next park right around 7 o'clock my time, start the next activation, that counted for the next day. Made it work wonderfully. So one activation per UTC day, get the 10 contacts, made a successful activation. Beyond that, there were no other rules. New parks were encouraged every time, although I did repeat some parks because I knew that was going to happen. But the goal was to get new parks every time, and then also didn't matter what band, didn't matter what mode. And that was basically it. So, how did I do? I did a total of 38 activations in July. There were several days where I did more than one. In particular, on July the 3rd, I had the day off, so I went down to South Dakota in the very far northeast part of South Dakota, knocked out 5 parks that day. There were a couple other Fridays where I had some extra time and knocked out a couple extra parks. So we ended up with 38 activations total, and that's not counting twofers. That's just 38 times that I went on the air, not counting twofers. It was a total of 32 unique parks. There were a couple times where I did repeat parks. Hamilton Wills was done 3 times, I think. I know I did Fort Abercrombie State Historic Site twice, and then what other one got repeated? Oh, yeah, the Cheyenne National Grassland got repeated, and then North Country Trail actually got repeated a bunch of times. North Country Trail just zigzags this whole area, and so I had a bunch of twofers for North Country Trail, so I was not counting that except for the 2 activations where that was all that was there was North Country Trail. So there you go. So 30 activations, 32 unique parks. 21 of those parks were new. That was the fun part, 21 new parks. So I'm at 52 unique parks that I've activated. My goal is to get 50 for the summer, 100 activations total on my count for POTA. I'm at 93, I think, so I'll easily get to 100 by the end of August, so that'll be no problem. And a grand total of 923 QSOs between all 38 activations. Some activations were better than others, of course. There was a couple where just barely skating by to get it done. And then there are others where I finally had to call QRT. I'm like, hey guys, I'm done. I can't keep doing this. So all in all, very successful. Some things I wanted to highlight as far as the challenge goes is my air conditioning finally shuts off and I don't have to talk so loud. So one of the things that I wanted to note, there was a lot of driving for this. I drove, if you discount, because the row I did last weekend was for a contract job I took on, so let's subtract those are work miles, so we'll subtract that. I drove 2,500 miles in July just doing POTA activations. That's a lot. So, a lot of driving. And part of that is because the nearest park to me is 30 miles away. So, total of 60 miles minimum to activate a park. So, it gets to be a lot of driving, a lot of $4 gas. That adds up, but that's the cost of doing business, right? So, that was part of it. The other thing I'll note was, so going in, I said it didn't matter what band, didn't matter what mode. Well, I almost always end up on 20, just because 20 is always the popular band. There's always stuff to do on 20. I know I was on 17 a couple of times. I was on 15 a couple of times. I actually dipped down to 40 a couple of times, too. So I did share the level a little bit, but 20 was by and large the band I was on the most. But that's where most of the people are, so that makes sense. But the other thing is, all 38 activations were CW only, and that was not my plan going in. I figured I'd do a little bit of CW, a little bit of phone, maybe dip in the digital if I felt bored. No, I did CW the entire time. Now, part of that is because I am still I can do CW activation, no problem, but I still consider myself very new to Morse code. I'm still considering myself to be a newbie. I can do an activation, obviously. I can't write you at all. I'm working on that. I did recently join CW Innovations. I'm taking that here the next couple months here, so hopefully that will change. But I think the other part of it was I got a couple activations in on CW, and I finally hit a groove, and it's like, hey, let's keep doing this. Let's get better at it. And I still kept it about 18 words a minute, just if for no other reason. I found if you call CQ at 18 words a minute, the most somebody will come back to is like 22, which is about my limit as far as decoding call signs. But depending on the call, I might be able to get it too. But anyway, doing all CW was not my plan, but that's just kind of how it shook out. But if nothing else, I got to enjoy the weather because July is beautiful in this part of the country. It's a hell of a lot better than January and February, where it is below zero and 20 below zero at times. I've activated when it's that cold in the car. It's not fun. It's chilly. Actually, just crank the heat up, but it's fine. But being able to enjoy the weather was nice. So that was part of why I did it. Like I said, 21 new parks. So it was cool to go see some of these different areas that I hadn't really been to before. And a lot of these are in my backyard. Essentially, they're not less than an hour away. So it was cool to see some of these other areas. If I were to do it again next year, and we'll see if I do it again next year. I'm torn on whether I would do the parks I did, or if I keep it closer. Like I said, 2,500 miles. That was a lot of driving in July. So if I were to do this again, maybe at the cost of having to repeat parks more often, you stick with the more closer ones just to keep the mileage down. That's something I consider. Doing CW only, like I said, that kind of just happened by accident. That may or may not happen. If I do this again next year, we'll see. But like I said, it was a great way to enjoy the weather in July and get out and enjoy the scenery. This part of North Dakota can be kind of boring, but you don't have to drive very far and you get some pretty scenic views. So it's a great way to go see the area and enjoy the weather. So, you know what, wrapping this up, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was great to get on the air. There was a lot of stations that I worked over and over a bajillion times. It was great to get familiar with those operators, and I hope to keep working them. And if nothing else, I got to hone my craft in a little bit, got to optimize my CW setup. I did go through a bunch of different setups too. I rotated pretty evenly between my FTX1 and my Lcraft KX2 and my FT891. And even antenna-wise too, I rotated between the ATOS quite a few times. The POTA Performer did really well. I was a fan of that. And then even a couple NFEDs. So got to rotate things around, see how different things worked, try some different setups, and for down the road, maybe there's some things learned as far as doing future POTA activations. So all in all, I'm really happy with how things turned out. I'm thrilled that I made it and got it done. 923 QSOs. That blows my mind that in 38 activations, 923. I don't know what that averages out to. I was told there'd be no math. So anyway, that's going to put a bow on 31 days of POTA for the month of July. I will be doing future activations, just not for a while. I'm going to take a break for a little bit. I got a camping trip next weekend. Not at a POTA park, unfortunately, but we'll get on the air from a little bit out there, and maybe in a couple weeks I'll think about doing a POTA activation again. And we do plenty of travel this fall with work as well, so that'll be fun to get on the air and do some POTA from some new locations there as well. So with that, 31 days of POTA officially in the books. Fin, el done. I don't know what the Spanish version of that is. I took 2 years of high school Spanish. Anyway, we are all wrapped up. We're moving on to the next thing. Thank you so much for following along on the journey. We picked up a bunch of new subscribers on the channel. Welcome. Thank you so much. And we're just getting started here on this channel. And who knows, maybe I'll find some other cool things to show off and keep you guys entertained in the ham radio world. So with that, steak is on the grill. We're going to let that finish up. I want to keep enjoying my beverage. And with that, I say 7-3.